Hey y'all. So today's topic, I want to kind of continue what we were talking about these last couple of videos, which is um, talking about excelling and potential. You know, reaching your potential. That's something that it's probably going to take me. Matter of fact, I might as well make this damn blog about it, mostly about it. It's going to take a lot of lectures to kind of get to my philosophy or to explain my philosophy in whole. There is a book coming, so just want to let y'all know. So, the question is, why is it that some of us excel and some of us have a hard time getting on? Everybody would like to do better. And every year, we have a tradition in this country of setting ourselves goals that very few people actually meet. Everybody wants to do better. Everybody wants to become higher, more advanced versions of themselves, right? We want to become healthier. We want to become smarter. We want to become wealthier. We want to be happier, more successful. And we live in a country where it should be easy. We have great education opportunities here. We have a lot of prosperity. We have legal freedoms that we wouldn't have in many other countries. That being said, why is it that there's so much poverty in this country? Right now, I don't want to get into the talk about history and racism and all that kind of stuff, because yes, that does exist. Okay, but those things no longer have the power over you that they once had. If you want to talk about what Jim Crow did to black people 100 years ago, during Jim Crow, the black community prospered. Remember, Black Wall Street was created one generation out of slavery. And they couldn't even use a water fountain. Yet we had more successful black businesses at that time. Okay, so, and I'm not just talking about black folks now. So a lot of you white folks, unless your ancestors arrived on these shores 100 years ago, you probably never experienced anything close to the kind of discrimination that black people experienced. And let me tell you, you guys did not. You might have experienced some discrimination, but nothing like what black folks went through. However, I will give you that, yes, America treated the new immigrants in the early 19th century or early 20th century terribly. But even then, those immigrants prospered. Why is it that we have the descendants of slave owners today? We have the descendants of Americans who've never experienced anything like Jim Crow or chattel slavery. Why do they make up the most of the welfare recipients in this country? You don't have they face the obstacles that people of color face, right? You never have to worry about getting rounded up and deported to another country simply because you're speaking Spanish or something. You know what I mean? You never have to worry about going to prison for something you didn't do simply because the majority of the jurors just want someone black to pay for the crime. Oh, I said we weren't going to talk about race, right? Well, let me put this out. Despite the fact that so many white folks do not have the obstacles that we have, despite the fact that black folks don't have many obstacles that new immigrants have, right? Say someone comes from Africa, poor, uneducated, unconnected, and still black. Why are they outperforming us? And the answer to that question lies not in the discussion about race, but a discussion about human nature. And this is what I mean. The same thing could happen to two different people of similar backgrounds. A lower income, lower economic class, white person and black person, doesn't matter the race, doesn't matter whatever, two poor people can respond to opportunity completely different. And it has to do with human nature. One takes full advantage of the opportunities in front of them. The other one, you might as well not even put the opportunity in front of them. They're not going to seize it. You could take two middle class people of any background or similar backgrounds, or any background. Two middle class people, educated, and give them misfortune, lose a job, company shuts down, car gets repoed, something like that, divorce, and they'll respond to that differently. One will prosper and one will continue going down. You could reward two people, have them win $1 million in the lottery, catch them in 5 years. One who won $1 million now has 10 million. The other one could be broke, right? So this is really about human nature, how we respond to what happens to us, whether it's positive or negative. Hold on, let me get some water. Got allergies. So there's a saying that times of poverty and struggle lead to innovation, hard work, and prosperity. Times of struggle lead to innovation, hard work, and prosperity. Times of prosperity lead to laziness and greed. Times of laziness and greed lead to war. Times of war lead to depression and poverty and suffering. And that cycle repeats itself. Now, you can draw a lot of conversations out of that little maxim. And basically what it's saying is that there's a cycle that civilizations go through. When times are good, people tend to be lazy, others tend to be greedy. The lazy turn to crime, the greedy turn to war. They're both the same response. One is the poor man's response. The other one is the rich man's response. The rich man goes after the rich men of other lands to take what they have. The poor man turns to other people around him, not necessarily other wealthy people, could be other poor, to take what they have, right? Two similar responses, but different actions to the same situation. The rich man wants more. The poor man is desperate. He wants more. But because of laziness, he doesn't work for it. During times of war, that leaves the country that goes to war drained, because the country that goes to war, they don't use their wealth to fund that war. They use the poor and the needy to fight the war, and then they suck the finances from the poor and the needy to pay for it. Do you get what I'm saying? The wealthy will never sacrifice their money to go to war. They will never sacrifice their children to go to war. So it is a poor man who dies and a poor man who pays for it. That's greed. And then once the booty has been taken from the people that you go to war with, it does not filter back down to the poor. The wealthy keep it. The government keeps it. You get it? This cycle repeats itself. So it takes a very wise leader to break that cycle. And so far in the West, we have not had anyone break that cycle. This country you're living in is going through it right now. Anyway, now on a smaller scale of that, because that is really the cycle that civilizations go through. But people, Friedrich Nietzsche, which is the German philosopher, once said that that you must have chaos within to give birth to a dancing star. And in a way that kind of explains that same thing, that when you are in poverty and when you are desperate, you tend to work harder, right? You got to have that chaos. You got to have um, uh, that inner battle going on in order to become a higher version of yourself. Think about when you were in school. When the teacher gave you 6 weeks to do a report, how many people did that report the day you went home? Or that weekend? Or the next week? Right? Very few. Most people, if the teacher gave you 6 weeks to work on a project, were trying to finish that project the weekend before the project was due. Am I right? Am I right? Or am I right? Because it is in the nature of most people to procrastinate. It is hard to be self-motivated until you are desperate and worried and you've got anxiety. That's where you become most creative. That's when you become most innovative. That's when you become hardworking, right? This is the reason why young guys go to prison and they are on their best behavior only when they're in prison. That's the only time that they're not, that they're working hard and they're dreaming and they're calling mom and dad, I love you, mom and dad, you know, I'm going to do right, I'm going to do good this time, I'm calling my son, how's my children doing, blah, 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 blah. They do all that shit when they're in prison, but when they come out, they go right back to the bullshit. Lazy, fucking women, not working, getting high, drinking, shit like that. Why is that? Because we tend to do better when there's a weight upon us. Do you understand? Very few people have self-discipline and are self-motivated. That's the reason why you wait till the last minute to study for your exams. That's the reason why you wait till the last minute to do your reports. Most of us, many of us, work that way. It takes a highly disciplined, motivated, and wise person to not live that way. You see what I'm saying? To not need chaos in order to birth a dancing star. And it is just not in human nature. That is the reason why, even though I contend that all people have leadership within them, very few people are actually able to tap into that leadership quality. Because most people cannot become higher versions of themselves because of their human nature or their natural tendency to not work hard and to become complacent. This is the reason why you can have 2-3 generations of people on public assistance. You can have 2 or 3 generations of low achievers, 2 or 3 generations of chronically unemployed, people on public assistance and things like that, because it's very hard to come out of that. You understand? And someone has to tap into the wisdom and teach it and condition that generation to break the cycle. And that cycle can be within the same family line, or it can be within the same community, or it can be within a section of the community, an entire demographic, right? So this is the reason why certain ethnic groups tend to experience mass poverty together, while other ethnic groups start off in mass poverty and then they have mass prosperity together, right? There has to be strong leadership, and the correct philosophy has to be passed on to everyone. And then everyone collectively works together to come out of that. So I have a family. We're all poor. I got 8 kids. One of my kids figures the shit out, goes to school, gets a good job, tries to reach out to the other siblings. Other siblings close their ears, or the other siblings say, well, give me some money, I'll go to school. You give them some money, they don't go to school. Then a couple years, give me some money and I'll go do this program. He gives them some money, then, he doesn't use the money for that. He buys a car or some shit like that. Eventually, the one who did well is going to stop helping his brothers. You get it? Then sometimes you have the ones that do well who refuse to help his brothers. Okay, again, human nature. Because like I said, people respond differently to the same conditions, same situations. So anyway, that being said, so leadership could be the patriarch of a family, or it could be a community leader or a religious leader or an educator, something like that, has to bring a message and bring the philosophy to the masses. But at the same time, the masses have to take that information in and utilize it in order to do better. And the needy, the poor, the desperate, they have to work together in order to rise out of that. Okay, now on a smaller scale, you by yourself, let's say you're not in a family where you have a strong patriarch or a wise leader to pull yourself out, you can still self-educate. If I want to improve, if I want to make more money, the answer is not to go to my boss and say, hey, I need more money. The answer is to become a person that's more valuable. When you are more valuable, then you don't have to ask for money. You can demand it. You don't demand it. You command it. Okay? If you are a person of higher value, if you're a person of lower value, you can't come to the marketplace with just, oh, I'm a laborer. You know what I mean? You have to come with something that people are willing to pay for. And that's why I say self-education is important. Now, self-education could be study at home, learn it, and then put together a nice resume. Or it could be go enter school, right? Or it could be go through a program or go get a job in an industry that you want to learn, pay your dues, gather skills, put together a nice resume, or and go forward with that. But at a minimum, you can self-educate. You can go get the information that you want. I want to learn this business. Do whatever you got to do to learn that business. Okay, whether you get books, whether you go to YouTube videos, go to the library, take courses, things like that. So there are solutions for you to get out, and they don't always involve, they rarely involve somebody helping you do it or somebody giving you the resources to do it. Okay, but it starts with a change of philosophy. You have to first change the way you see things, change the way you react to things, because there's a million one things all around you that can work against you. You got the cops driving through looking at you as a potential criminal. You got the guy that's out on the street who's competing against you for the same jobs. You got another guy on the street who's looking at what you got, thinking that would look better in my pocket than in his pocket, right? Then you have, the stresses of family. You've got, my responsibilities, and maybe you're not keeping up with your responsibilities because times are hard. Times are hard. You've got the economy. You've got laws. You've got all kinds of obstacles all around you. You have a lot of things working against you. But if you are a strong person here and you can control the way you react to it, because like I said, it doesn't matter if the workforce, the industry jobs are scarce. It doesn't matter if there aren't educational sources out there that are easily available. It doesn't matter if school is too expensive. There are things that you can do to improve your situation, but there are things that you have to do. Do you understand? Is it easier for me to control all this stuff around me, to make the universe work in unison so that I can succeed? Or is it easier to focus on me and make myself the kind of person that excel no matter what goes on around me. Because bear in mind that no matter where you live, no matter who you are, there is an immigrant in your city, in your neighborhood, that just got here, that doesn't speak English, that don't have education, doesn't know where the next meal is going to come from. There's somebody near you that's going to pass you, that's going to take advantage of the same opportunities that you have around you. They live in your neighborhoods. They live in your cities. You pass them on the bus. Matter of fact, if you're driving, you might even pass them on the street. They walking, you in a car. 2 years later, you in that same car, broke down the side of the road, he passed you in a better car. Right? It's not a matter of opportunity or obstacles. It's a matter of philosophy. It's being able to take advantage of what's going on in your life to self-improve. You can self-improve using opportunities to self-improve, or you can self-improve using obstacles to self-improve. Some people are fueled by the obstacles to motivate themselves to work harder, to sacrifice more, to drive themselves all the way to success. And then some people find the opportunities and they make the most of them. Okay? Or you can do both. You can be fueled by the obstacles, fueled by the fact that child support is on your ass, by the fact that you and your old lady just broke up, by the fact that your kids need shoes and you don't have the money to buy it. Let that motivate you to do what you got to do. You know, there is a joke, and it's not really a joke. If you saved all your receipts in the course of a month, save them in an envelope. Save them in an envelope. Staple them together like a little book over the course of a month. You'll have a nice little book explaining the reason why your ass is struggling financially. Do you get what I'm saying? If you save all the receipts from all your purchases over the course of a month, 9 times out of 10, you will have a neat little book that explains why you're broke. And the truth of the matter is, most of us are not broke. Very few of us are actually broke. Most of us end up broke because of something that we're doing wrong. Okay, it's often not a matter of not making enough money. It's not spending enough, not spending our money wisely, not saving enough money. You get it? So, and like I said, this is all a philosophy. Okay, so if you have the right philosophy, then you will go through life living frugally, working harder, working smarter, living a life of discipline, you know, cutting out entertainment so that you can stay in bed longer and get better sleep, so that you have enough energy to work a second job if you need to. Do you understand what I'm saying? Excuse me. This is what gets you to become higher versions of yourselves. Okay. There are people, again, we were talking about Nietzsche. Nietzsche said that most people are afraid of the inner voice, that higher version of themselves that's deep within calling you, because when it speaks to you, it speaks demandingly. What is it saying? That voice is telling you to do something that many of us are not willing to do. It's suggesting that we do things that we don't want to do. When you go to the store and you think about buying a beer or a blunt or a piece of chocolate cake, and you might even joke to yourself, I don't need this shit, but you know what, fuck it. And you buy it anyway. You've ignored the voice. Okay? And that explains why 10 years later, you might have health problems because of the alcohol that you ingested, because of the tobacco, the weed that you smoked, or because, or maybe, or the, diabetes from eating the foods that you knew you weren't supposed to have, right? Your finances, car breaks down and the guy says it's going to cost you $500 to fix it. You say, fuck, where am I going to get $500 from? Let me break it down like this. Average trip to fast food is about $10. $500 is 50 of those trips. How many times you go to fast food in a month? 4 times a week? 4 times a week is 25 visits a month, right? No, that's 24. Shit, that's 16. I'm sorry. 4 times a week is 16 of those visits. Okay, you see, it doesn't take very long to blow $500, and if you don't have the money to fix your car, I guarantee if you look at the wasteful spending that you've committed, it won't take but maybe 6 weeks worth of that wasteful spending to come up with that money that you don't have, you know what I mean, for that car. And so that's what I'm saying, a life of discipline, right? Why am I saving money? I don't know, but I'm going to save money anyway, right? You're saving money because things like that happen. But if you don't think about it, then when it happens, when it comes to you and you need it, you don't have it. You see? So anyway, that being said, just keep in mind that your life can be motivated by the opportunities that lie ahead of you, and they could also be motivated by the misfortune that you've experienced. And you can use them both to fuel your drive forward. And as long as you can do that, you will always excel. All right, so that's all I've got today. We'll try to do these shorter videos in the future.